Have you ever been so overwhelmed with the situation and life around you? You had so much work, you had so many things to complete. Perhaps you have bills to pay, you don't know how ends are gonna meet. And perhaps it's a relationships, perhaps it's your family, perhaps it's just so many things just keep going wrong and you're super overwhelmed. In the Bible, it talks about storms raging. Now, this morning, I had a conversation with my friends, and we kept on drawing our life principles from the story of Paul in the shipwreck from Acts 27. Now, Paul is on a boat with 276 men. They're going through a storm, and it's shaking them so hard, they're trying by all means to stay safe. Now, in fact, at one point, they lose hope. Acts chapter 27 verse 20, it says, "When neither sun nor stars appeared for many days and the storms continued raging, we finally gave up all hope of being saved." Now, it's quite frustrating if you lose hope, the only thing that you're clinging on, and on a daily basis. On a daily basis, we have to rise up and fight again. We have to rise up and go back to the things that overwhelm us. But when you lose hope, that's another thing. These men had lost hope of being saved. Now imagine being in an ocean, there's a storm, and you lose hope. You know the next moment, things are going down and you're going to die. But that's not what happens. Paul stands up. He reminds them, I told you guys, let's not go this way. But he urges them. In verse 22, he said, "But now, I urge you to keep up your courage, because not one of you will be lost. Only the ship will be destroyed." That's interesting, being in the storm and then someone rises up and tells you, be encouraged, none of you will be lost. You know, some of us will ask the person questions, how do you know? How are we, what's the guarantee? But there's nothing. Paul just tells them, I told you not to go this way, but I encourage you, do not be shaken, stay encouraged. Joshua in the Bible is being told, be courageous, be strong, you know, and Paul in this case tells them, be courageous. None of you is going to be destroyed, but the ship is going to be destroyed. Remember, they've lost hope, and now Paul stands up and tells them, do not lose hope. I don't know about you, I don't know the situation you're going through, I don't know the storms that are there, I don't know if you've lost hope, but some of us, we end up losing hope at some point. But like Paul, I would encourage us to be courageous, to brave up, to cheer up, despite the storms, despite the wind blowing us left, right, center, to be courageous. Now, it goes on to say that they were fearing what could happen, they were being shaken, and so forth and so on. But the most interesting part that stopped me in my tracks was when the Bible tells us that Paul told them to sit down and eat. And it says, for the last 14 days, you have been in constant suspense. Now, at this place I stopped, because so often we get caught up in what's happening to us right now that we get so tense. In fact, I've been in a situation that got me so tense. My back was aching, my muscles were just so tightened, that I was so tense. I was focused on the situation, the things that are overwhelming me, that I could not even eat, that I could not even think, that I could not even realize what's happening around me. So Paul tells them, for the last 14 days, you've been in constant suspense and have gone without food. You haven't eaten anything. Now, I urge you to take some food. You need it to survive. Not any one of you will lose a single hair from his head. Come on, Paul. What do you mean? We are in the middle of a storm. It's raging, it's so tough, and yet you're telling us to eat. We've not eaten for 14 days because we've been trying to survive. We're in fear. But that's what happens on a daily basis. We get so caught up and overwhelmed in many situations, and they take us from the promises of God. They take us from where we're heading, and we get so caught up in suspense and anxiety, and I don't want that. These are real emotions. I get them all the time. We miss out on eating, and yet Paul here encourages them to sit down, eat. So he prays for the food. He breaks the bread and he gives them to eat. In fact, he also tells them, not a single hair from your head is going to be lost. This is incredible. Because sometimes I feel when I read these scriptures, it's like God encouraging me and God continuously speaking to me and telling me, my son, my daughter, not a single thing is going to come near you. You will survive. You'll make it to the end of the tunnel. And through these circumstances that we're going through, God's word is there to encourage us. Is there to give us the strength for the journey. And over he keeps whispering to us, you will make it. Not a single hair on your head will be lost. The ship might get wrecked. Our ideas and plans and things we've built for our lives may get wrecked. But we will not be shaken because he is God and he is with us. Now, they break bread. Paul encourages them and they eat. And after eating, all of them together, they lighten the ship by throwing the grains into the sea. And the day comes and they keep on going. And the story ends by saying they all make it to the shore. They all find a way to make it to the shore. And this is encouraging for me because as I was reading this story, I imagined myself in the ocean with the storms. Sometimes it's very easy to read these stories, and because we know how the end is, to just not see it. But I saw it in our storms, in our shaking and winds and our raging. Everything is very hard for us to see God in it. But constantly, God keeps his promises and he invites us to be so anchored in him that he will give us hope to sustain us even when we've given hope on our lives. In fact, in Matthew, he invites us, there's an invitation to us to cast our cares and our burdens unto him, and he will give us rest. He will give us peace. He will give us shalom. That's a peace that surpasses all understanding in the midst of our storm. And we can be able to rest in him. We can sleep knowing that God has it all. This word is super important. In times of storms like now, let's stick to the promises of God that they can be able to encourage us. And I don't know where you are. I don't know the storms you're going through. I don't know if you've given hope, if you're still clinging on to that little hope, that one drop of hope that's remaining. But I encourage you to cast all your cares and burden unto his feet, and he will give you rest. And you will rise up again and fight again. You will rise up again and find strength for the journey.